On a rainy and stormy night, a little boy named Steve was playing with his friends. They were telling scary stories in the yard of one of their friends' houses, and the sound of thunder made everyone even more scared. But Steve, who was always looking for adventure, decided to go to an old, abandoned cabin at the end of the forest. The cabin, with its rotting wooden walls and broken windows, looked as if no one had ever set foot in it. When Steve approached the cabin, his heart beat faster. He pushed the door, and to his surprise, the door slowly opened. The cabin was dark and cold. The smell of dampness and decay permeated the cabin. Steve stepped inside the cabin, and the door closed behind him. He was scared and looked around. The walls were covered with strange paintings, and vague shadows were moving in the corners of the room. He realized that something was watching him. Steve was very scared. In the middle of the room, there was an old round table with a large, dirty book on it. Steve went to the table and opened the book. Its pages were filled with strange writing and terrifying pictures. The sounds of loud, terrifying laughter filled the cabin. Steve turned around and saw large, black shadows coming towards him. He ran to the door, but the door was locked, and no matter how hard he tried, it wouldn't open. The shadow came closer to Steve, and Steve felt his heart beat faster. He remembered the stories he had told his friends in the yard, and realized that none of them were as scary as this cabin. The shadow came closer and said to Steve, "Why did you come to my cabin, boy?" The shadow's voice rang in his ears like a bell. Steve said in a trembling voice, "I just wanted to see what was going on here." The shadow slowly came closer and said, "This cabin is a place where fears and secrets gather. Now that you're here, you must face your fears." Steve realized at that moment that this cabin was not only a place to be afraid, but also to be brave and face his inner fears. Steve realized that this had been a test of his courage, and now he could leave this cabin. Finally, the cabin door opened and Steve went outside. It was still raining, but he was no longer afraid. He had realized that fear was just an emotion, and that with courage he could overcome it. From that day on, whenever it rained, Steve would smile at the memory of that dark cabin and the lessons they had learned.